Hi. Today's my birthday. I turned 28. And so I thought on my birthday I could give a talk on birth. And I think some of the things that kind of hold us back from giving birth is oftentimes a fear of like being more expressive, like the things that we always think are really cool, but we never kind of end up moving in that direction. One, we're usually typically afraid of being seen or sharing more of ourselves, or we just don't have a good routine of regularly finding a creative outlet or expressing ourselves regularly. That's part of it. And then the other part of it is that we also typically have a pattern of overconsumption where we're and to rest we come home and maybe we watch a bunch of movies or we read books or we scroll on Instagram and we get used to a pattern of consuming and stagnation rather than taking time to express our past experiences or to create from how our essence or how our soul would like to create in our life. And anytime you are expressing creativity, even if you're just making weird random words and allowing it just to flow out of your mouth like that is the energy of your soul flowing through you. Your soul is improvised expression, and anytime you tune into improvised expression, even if it's just being ridiculous and weird, you are allowing more of your soul to flow through you, and you are allowing more heart energy to flow through you, and you're becoming more of someone who is soft, gentle, and has regulated emotions because you're expressing yourselves rather than someone who is living in a state of fear of expressing themselves. Or even, oftentimes when you start creating, you then want to share it with others, and so it actually helps heal the wound that I have a little and have been working through, and I think and used to have a lot more of, and I think a lot of people have, which is a fear of being seen. And so expression is almost like for those who wish to have a powerful heart, we have to be creative and we have to express our heart energy through some type of creative expression. And you can look at, what do I really admire with whatever I like to look at when I do rest or when I am taking a break from work. Like what do I like consuming, right? Do I really like movies? And it's like, okay, if you really like movies, what do you like about the movie? Do you like something that has a good plot and storyline? Do you really love a great acting performance and you love to follow different actors and see how they play different roles? Are you really someone who likes how like the different camera angles and lighting and how that sets a scene and how that really tells, kind of provides the like thematic tone for the story? And recognizing whatever I admire, it's probably I admire it because I would secretly like to express myself in that way. And so whether you like the storyline, whether you like the actors, whether you like the different camera angles and the lighting and the thematic tones of a story, or the way that they subtly put in um like metaphors into a movie, like whenever it rains it has a deeper meaning for that story or whatever. Looking at if that's something I admire because I would secretly like to enjoy it, how could I start to express myself in that way? If I really am into good acting performances, maybe I sign up for an like improvised comedy or I start doing even something, or yeah, improvised like sketch group that I could do. Or maybe if I'm really into the storyline, maybe I start writing more regularly at home, or I take a creative writing class, or I start to just write, start to do what I have available. Maybe I start writing little like short like movie scripts just for myself, and recognizing whenever you're feeding your passion and interest, it will start to grow and you'll start to get more inspired ideas. And as long as you keep on acting on those inspired ideas, you find more and more passion, you'll start to be more and more inspired, and you'll start to really find your way of how you could create more, or even share more of your work with others, or you'll start to have a drive of, I'm getting really good at creative writing and I would really like to get paid to do this. And you'll start to get ideas of how you might be able to get paid as a writer. But you only get to that point by first starting to write. And so recognizing, what are the ways that I come home and I check out and I numb, whether that's through substances, whether that's through technology, or do I just have a pattern of consume, 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 and I never express? And maybe that's why I feel miserable, and not actually from life circumstances, but how I'm living my life within those circumstances. And even if I'm someone that doesn't have a lot of resources, like I'm someone that does not have a lot of resources. I am currently, relying a lot on my parents, or pretty much all on my parents, like financial help while I'm looking for a job. And what I've realized about when you don't have a lot of resources is it's kind of like a funnel, and it makes you become really, it kind of like funnels your attention. And instead of being like, oh, I could go out to dinner tonight, I could go see this concert, or could. It kind of, you have less options, but it helps you be more focused and there's less distractions. And I've heard other people teach this, but I think there's truth in it. Is oftentimes artists are the most creative when they do have less resources, just because there's not a lot else to focus on, or there's not a lot else to do because they don't have the resources to go do it. And it's something, I've definitely have been grateful for with doing this YouTube channel, is that while it would be nice to have more money, and instead of shooting this on my iPhone, I could shoot it on like a camera and it would look a little bit more professional, is like the lack of resources has helped me be really focused on just honing the skill of channeling. And so recognizing, if you are finding like you don't have a, if you are, struggling with income, it's really, it's helping, it's cutting away distractions to help you actually focus on what you want to grow. And we only regret our life when we didn't take those moments to grow. And so, even if, okay, let's say we don't watch movies a lot, but maybe we're really into sports, maybe we really love listening to music. If you love listening to music, you would enjoy playing music. I would almost say across the board. And if you don't have a lot of money, I mean, there is instruments you can buy that are rather affordable. Like you could buy a little like bongo set, probably wouldn't cost that much. And I'm sure there's reused bongo sets on eBay that are probably that are very affordable. Or you could buy a 3D printed flute, or you can even get like a guitar off Amazon for probably like as cheap as $100 or $150. And even if you don't have the money to take lessons, if you just keep on playing it, you'll start to get inspiration, and you'll start to grow in that way, and you'll start to feel better about, I'm using my time in a meaningful way, rather than I'm just consuming other people's art, and the songs I have inside of me are going to die with me, rather than me actually creating them, and me actually allowing, maybe even if I'm just sharing that with my partner, or a friend I really trust. Sharing songs is like sharing beauty, and it's making not it's one, clearing out some of your experiences in your body for more beauty to enter, or for more of your heart energy or soul to circulate through you. And it also is reminding other people of their of it also inspires other people, also helps other people be more passionate. Like when I used to teach yoga classes, like if I was feeling like kind of stuck or didn't really know like what kind of yoga, like what how to mix it up this week, because I like to change my yoga class up like every week or every other week. I would go take a yoga class, or if I didn't, or if there wasn't any yoga classes that day that I could take, I would look on YouTube and I would watch someone else teach a yoga class, and I would take some of the stuff that I thought they did that was really cool or inspiring, and I would put it in my yoga class, but it made it different and it helped me grow and it helped me teach things that I would have never taught otherwise, and made teaching yoga a lot more exciting for me. And recognizing, even with channeling, like how I got into channeling is I just obsessed over Matt Kahn, and then when he married Joy, I was listening to Joy Khan's work a lot too, and other people as well, like Lee Harris and Alunya Noel, and other people in spirituality like Diana Cooper, and I obsessed over their work, and I still listen to spirituality regularly, pretty regularly, and and eventually, like with consuming, you'll hit a point where you get tired of constantly listening to, like for me, spiritual talks and never expressing it. And the way to actually heal the tiredness of it is to start to share what you have to offer. Because if you listen to something long enough, if you listen to music long enough, if you watch movies long enough, if you listen to spiritual talks long enough, eventually you start to figure out what looks good and what doesn't look good, or what's a good story, what's not a good story, what was a good talk that Matt did, and what one did, like I went, oh, kind of could have done a little better on that one. And you start to pick up the skill by consuming, but it's going to feel, you're going to start to lose interest in that passion, unless you actually start expressing it for yourself. And for me, I actually feel like I could have started channeling and putting out YouTube videos a lot earlier than I did. I mean, I had the inspiration to make a YouTube channel for a full year before I actually went to make it, because I was like, oh, I need a camera. Right at the time, I was in this tiny apartment. It was like a micro studio. I was like, I don't want to have to shoot it on my bed, and I don't have a lot of money for like a microphone, and all these things of telling me why I couldn't do it. And so I didn't start it for a year, and eventually, I luckily had some friends who kind of egged me on to start doing it, and also just got tired of saying I couldn't do it. And I was like, well, why don't I just do it with the resources I have? And that is like a beautiful metaphor for birth, because the whatever we're trying to grow into more of, the plants are not going to grow if you don't water them and if you don't fertilize the soil. And a lot of people, you can think of fertilizing the soil as like consuming whatever you're interested in, and a lot of people over fertilize the soil, but they never actually start to water the seeds. And we can think of watering the seeds as starting to act on your passion, and you only feel as passionate or inspired as how often you water the plant. Like, let's say this is a plant that, for our passions and interests, let's just, for the analogy, say that they need a lot of water all the time. And the more you do it, the more you'll be inspired, the more you'll be invigorated, and the better you'll become at it. And you'll start to be, even like at the beginning, you're going to have the mindset of sometimes this is not going to be good. Like for me, I started out doing open mics, and I knew, I was like, sometimes my open mic performances are not going to be good. Like I'm not right. Maybe someone sneezes in the audience, and I lose my focus, and don't give as good of a talk that night, or I didn't plan enough beforehand, and didn't have enough of a structure or theme to really be able to dive deep into the topic I wanted to, or maybe I just had an off night and I just had a hard time being myself or being confident in front of people, and recognizing that that's only going to get better by continuing to do it. And if you go, I'm going to continue to do this even when I have bad nights, is when those bad nights actually become your greatest inspiration to be better the next time around. And as long as you stick with it and are consistent, right, you'll become really amazing and incredible at whatever you want to do. And we only regret our life when we haven't grown, when we haven't taken the opportunity we had, even with limited resources, to become really good at something that was inspiring and that lit us up or brought us passion, right? And we say life had no meaning, but your life had no meaning because you had no passion. And you never took time to really develop something that would have had greater meaning or lived beyond you after you died. And so recognizing that if I want greater passion and interest, I have to water the plant, and I have to do it consistently. And the more consistently I do it, the less of a rough period where sometimes I'm going to go and perform in front of others and it's not going to be good. Like the more consistent I am, the shorter time period we're going to have of that, and the more easily we're going to get to, wow, I'm really good at this now. And so recognizing that this life is what you create, right? Right? We all are going to have inherent interests, but it's our job to act on those inherent interests. And if we feel like there's not a lot of passion or interest in our life, that's that is you. That is your job in the most gentle and loving way possible. Like that is your job to grow, and you get to choose how much time did I create greater meaning in my life by making things that were beautiful and sharing with others and reminding them of beauty, or inspiring them to follow more of their passions, and how much time did I waste, right, scrolling on my phone, getting high, or constantly looking at technology, and never actually creating something that would have been me sharing greater heart energy just by expressing my feelings. And this kind of moves into where I wanted the talk to move into, which is like if we have a hard time expressing ourselves, we find we have a hard time being seen, if we find that we have a hard time being ourselves around others, one of the greatest ways to resolve that is performing, right? If you have a hard time being seen and you're really terrified to be in front of others, you're going to lose that fear rather quickly if you just do that no matter what the fear tells you. And even if it's bad and it's awful, right? If you continue doing that, it's going to wipe away the fear of being seen. And for me, I was shy and like really lost in fear, especially in college, and probably in high school too. And really had a hard time being myself around people, or really had a hard time like not being like this whenever I was around others, or especially people I was attracted to or whatever. And what I found is like while like yoga teaching helped a little, but I could teach yoga confidently, but then anytime I went to actually share anything outside of teaching yoga, like I was terrified and I had a hard time getting the words out. And like, so I could public speak teaching yoga classes, but if I wanted to give some inspired message at the beginning, it was like all the fear came rushing right back. And actually what soothed that was when I started channeling and doing open mics and just talking in front of people. But it also, when I started doing that regularly, it also like wiped away the part of me that wasn't that confident, and it wiped away the part of me that didn't feel comfortable being seen. And all of a sudden I was finding myself really comfortable and confident around others and being like, wow, this feels really good and I don't know where this came from. And then like reflecting and being like, oh, because I was doing open mics and could be myself in front of a bunch of strangers and talk about spirituality with people, you know, like literally at a bar who probably did not give a shit about spirituality. And I could do that. It's like, wow, like now I'm okay just being weird and being authentic around strangers a lot more easily. And I don't, and the fear of holding myself back, it was only so strong because I listened to it, and when I stopped listening to it, it went away. And I used to be terrified of public speaking, and when I stopped listening to it and started teaching yoga classes, and then when I stopped listening to it again and started doing open mics and really sharing more of myself with people, right? The fear of public speaking went away. And sure, I still get a little nervous like before an open mic, but it's nothing compared to what it used to be. And I used to not be able to get any words out, or like would mumble my words. And that doesn't happen anymore. So the fear of being ourselves exists for how long we listen to the fear. And you know, it's something I still work on. Like while I'm better around like one-on-one with people, and you know, better at just being a little bit more confident around people, I still feel like a little afraid around groups that I don't know. And it's still a little bit hard for me to like kind of shake that fear, and recognizing oftentimes when we're afraid to be our little selves, like be ourselves a little, it's like, can I just, you know, can I just take a baby step? And like, so last night I was around friends in this group, and they're friends like I see every now and then, not super often, and still haven't feel like people that I fully feel like I know really well yet. And I was feeling that like constriction and shyness, and it's my birthday today. And yesterday I was like, you know, I want to be a little selfish, but could you guys sing me happy birthday? And they of course said yes, and it was beautiful and fun, and they're like musicians, so it sounded really good as well. And you know, even that was like allowing myself to be seen, even that when I wanted to constrict and contract a little bit, or like you know, being direct about what I desired, which when we're in a pattern of hiding and fear, right, we tend to hide our desires. And so if we can just be more vocal about what we desire, right, we're essentially becoming different than the fear. And whenever you become the opposite of whatever fear is telling you, that fear gets cleared away, because it only lives and exists for how you listen to it and act from it, which is when you act from it, you're essentially feeding the fear, and it's only going to get bigger, because whatever you feed is what grows, I would say, in especially with feelings. Like if you're depressed and you like curl up in a ball all day and never do anything, right? Depression is stagnation. And so when you're stagnant while feeling depressed, it's just going to grow that depression within you. While if you're, and you know, sometimes our depression is going to be crippling, but it's something to look at. As if it's been crippling for a long time, like more than a day, I might need to try and do something different than what the voice of depression is telling me. Or if I'm really anxious, right? Usually, anxious is either avoiding truth within us, like avoiding truth in our relationships, avoiding truth in how, like, our career isn't serving us, but we don't want to look at that because we're comfortable in that career. Or it's like I'm constantly rushing off to the next thing, and I'm never spending any time with myself. And that's causing my inner child to feel scared, which is creating a feeling of anxiety. And it's like, okay, if that's the message of anxiety, I probably need to slow down and practice moving slowly, and feeling and really feeling my feelings. And if I do that, I might find that the anxiety starts to lift, because I stop feeding the pattern of anxiety. Oh, and what I would like to close out this talk with is like, you know, just regret, and recognizing that I've kind of touched on it a little already, but like we only regret in our life what we haven't grown, how we haven't grown, and what we regretted in the past oftentimes are still the same ways we're not growing in the present moment. Like, let's say we had relationships that fell apart and we go, oh, I would really wish I would have loved or been more grateful for this person or cared for this person deeper, right? We only regret that in the past because we haven't embodied that yet in this moment. And regret is really your greatest guidance of whatever you regret from the past is what you need to lean more in now. And in even if you're like we're with a partner who, you know, really desired being with someone who was like more expressive and creative, and you were really stoic at the time and had a bad relationship with your feelings and they ended the relationship, but you had a lot of love for that person, even though you had a hard time showing it to them, right? And it's like, okay, I really enjoyed being with them. They had a hard time being with me because I wasn't expressive and I wasn't really matching the level of creativity that they expressed, and had a hard time showing them expressing love, right? That's probably a great sign that I need to become more creative and expressive in my day, and I can do that really easily by just finding some simple outlet, you know, kind of going back to like taking an improv class, but like buying a 3D printed flute, or just taking time in my free time to draw, or if it's I have a hard time expressing my words, right? That's probably means like I need to take I should it would be good to find expression through my throat, whether that's reading spoken word poetry in front of others, whether that's say like finding Spotify songs to start singing along with or starting to take singing lessons, whether that's even picking up an instrument that you have to use your vocal cords for, or you know, a really simple one is just like making ridiculous words like doing that like every day for a little bit, like would actually loosen up or lubricate those vocal cords a little bit, and you might find you have an easier time expressing yourself. And if your partner felt like you didn't say I love you enough or that you're grateful for them, practice with the friends and family around you. Start doing that. It's like that would not be, if they're saying you're not good at that, that would probably be, you know, that's a really simple way to grow, is there's all these people around me that I could say I love you to. Like for me, I like often will tell like the homeless people that I love them. Because I do. It's like love is a state, not a feeling. And the more you express the word love, the more you feel love towards everyone. And that can be a beautiful thing when we are willing to express love more often. And and so using regret as divine guidance of, okay, if I'm regretting the past, it's because there's something I'm not embodying in this moment. And then when I embody it, it will heal that regret. And for me, like, I used to live in regret of how I was always like hiding and not able to be myself. And now that I feel like I am a lot better at being myself, while I'm still on my healing journey and still healing and working on coming a little bit more out of that all the time, it's like it's like that regret went away. It really does dissolve when you start to look at the past and go, what do I regret? And how am I not still doing that in this moment? And you know, even something, if we have a hard time putting ourselves out there, or a hard time, we feel like we don't have a lot of friends and want more friends, it's like, okay, how can I talk to people more? Like, is that going to community events? Or kind of a fun one that I was doing more last summer was like, can I talk to people in places that aren't socially acceptable, like the grocery store, or like just go up and start talking to someone on the beach, or like talk to people in the elevators. And like when you start to do that, you start to become a lot less scared of being yourself in front of others. And you also just meet more people, and you might find that you make a couple new friends if you do it regularly enough that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And so really, like, this is like life is like a video game, and you get to choose, you know, how many lifetimes you live in one lifetime. Some people don't grow a lot in their one lifetime in their lifetime. And some people follow their passions and interests and are able to live 5, 6, 7 different lifetimes, 9 different lifetimes, all in the same 100 years because they were willing to grow and they were willing to love deeper and they were willing to take loss as a reason to be better rather than loss as a reason to shut down more. And it's okay if we contract a little, that's normal. But if we're living in that contraction and you're only going to feed the contraction more and more by continuing to act from it. And if you really want to be powerful and free and confident, it's like, what are the things that really scare me? Like public speaking or like even talking to people or maybe I have a fear of being seen, or maybe I have a fear of dressing differently than everyone else. And can I lean into that a little bit? And, something I would like to just, if we feel like we really are admire people that dress really coolly, like you can embody that. You can start developing your own style. And if you have money, that's might just be buying different clothes, but a creative way to do it would be to like and buying different clothes is a little creative, but even something like going thrift shopping and like kind of searching for unique pieces that we really like cherish and adore would be a way to be expressing ourselves, right? And showing a little bit more of ourselves rather than staying in the box of I have to be like everyone else and I never do anything that's creative or expressive and then I think I'm not creative, but that's just an idea because you're living by it, and that's your reality because you're feeding that pattern. And you can choose to start to feed a more conscious pattern of I take time for creativity and expression. And maybe I even start taking sewing classes and start making my own clothes and like start to really explore, okay, what could I create and how beautiful could I make the clothes I wear be, right? And that's exciting and that brings joy to your life. And then you get to wear those clothes and show everyone your awesome creations, and that's inspiring and lights you up and it's amazing. And it's like, why wouldn't we want to be more like that? Why would we want to stay in a box of trying to, buying the same clothes everyone else does and constantly wondering why our life is meaningless or we don't feel that inspired or passionate? And it's like, that is a choice. And while we might just not have been aware, and we deserve to be gentle with ourselves and deserve to give that part of ourselves love that didn't know we could choose differently, like I'm here to be the reminder of you can choose differently. And the more you start to embody it, the more you're going to inspire others, even if it's not even talking to them, but your energy field is now filled with more passion and inspiration because you're feeding those patterns, and that will start to light up other people's energy fields. And if enough people light that up, it starts to create real flames that start to burn down the capitalistic and societal structures, like energetically, that trap people, and the flames will burn down those structures when enough people embody their passion to then clear the space for new structures to be birthed that serves people following their passions and interests, and start to help people find that at a young age rather than they find it in adulthood when they finally have the financial freedom and the independence to explore what they like were always scared to mention to their parents. Like for me, I always loved watching dancers and wish I would have been put in dance classes, and like something I haven't really didn't get to really explore until adulthood. And so this life, yeah, this life can be your greatest passion. It can be a life where you was full of countless inspiration and beautiful beauty and meaningful moments, or it can be a life that's dull, boring, and has very little fire, passion, or inspiration in it. And every day is a new day to choose differently, and we really are like a video game character, and your body is like the CD for the video game, and it's also the console as well, and you get to choose where your life goes. And sometimes we are guided a little bit, but and and steered away from different things, but whatever we're steered towards is always because it's going to be more meaningful with our time and actually light us up and excite us more than if we had stayed on the path we were on, right? Like I did a session with someone once who was complaining about how they got in a car accident and they couldn't be a nurse anymore, but they were someone that was incredibly psychically gifted. And the guidance that was coming through me was like, you were redirected from being a nurse to start to develop your psychic gifts because you are actually going to help way more people that way than if you had stayed in your nursing career. And so yeah, this life, whatever we're being steered away from, it's a gift. It's life trying to help us, not life just hurting us meaninglessly. And can we start to become curious of why we might have been steered away from that direction and what we might be being steered towards? And the greater curiosity we embody about ourselves and towards life, we'll start to get more and more answers when we're willing to explore that. And so I hope that helps. And I hope that we start to realize that we only regret how we don't grow and we only don't have passion and inspiration for how we're suffocating our passion through overconsumption or through wasting our time or through, using substances and not actually taking time to express our feelings rather than just trying to numb those feelings. And so I really hope this helps. Maybe if you found something helpful from this talk and you really enjoyed it, like leave a little comment. It would be great for me to like hear how this talk helped you. And yeah, no, I hope we all have a great day. I hope we all can feel born again tomorrow and realize that every day is a day where we get to grow and look to orient more towards the part of ourselves that are conscious, aware, beautiful, and amazing, and less towards the past history of pain. And we do that through our words and our choices and our intentions to start during our day and to start our day. And it's like every day can be an amazing day. Even when it doesn't go your way, when you're willing to laugh and enjoy the funny little potholes you hit, and when you're willing to take time to express and open up and allow your heart to flow rather than constantly feeling like these feelings you're feeling are overwhelming and you need to numb and check out from them, because the more you express them, the lighter they become. So thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.